I'm Yasmin for CaliberTV, and today I'm here with Lucas from Holding Absence, talking about the new album, the new song. Lucas, how are you? How are you keeping in lockdown? Are you losing your mind?
I'm doing very well, and I lost my mind so long ago that it doesn't even feel like I had it in the first place. So it's all good on my end.
Wasn't there to begin with. You just absent-minded since the day you were born. Greatest mistake of my life. So that's your new album coming out. I really relate because my life was a mistake. It's been one big whirlwind. But we're joining you today on the release of your new song and music video, In Circles. Can you walk me through the process of how you filmed that and why you picked those kind of settings to film that in?
Yeah, so this record, we've been very, very driven by aesthetic, and we've tried to make sure that the outfits have been looking good, and the buildings that we've been in, and all this kind of thing. And within Circles, it basically, it felt like quite a hard idea to pull in. So I'm really glad that it worked out. But basically, when throughout all my adult life, from the age of 18 onwards, and living in Cardiff as well, whenever I used to be quite depressed, I'd go for a walk to Cardiff Bay and back, and it's the most gorgeous place to be anyway. And it was always a nice walk on a physical level as well in terms of length. It wasn't too far, wasn't too close, And it got to the point where I realized I'd probably done that walk every hour of the day at least once. I've been there at 5 a.m, at 6 a.m, 3 a.m, too. You name it. And I thought to myself how weird it would be if I'd been filmed, or there was a photo of every time I walked there, just comparing how polarizingly different the world around me was, despite internally I felt the same every time I was depressed, And then the idea for the music video came, where it was basically going to be me walking the same road and having those shots clipped into one another, so it looked like a lot of different days or months or weeks or whatever. And In Circles as a song is it's kind of like a commentary on the cyclical nature of humanity, really, and how dangerous it can be to never try and achieve more than doing this on a Wednesday and going out with your mates on the weekend, how toxic and dangerous that can be. And yeah, we just kind of put the both ideas together. It was a 14-hour filming day. So we got there at 6 a.m, left at 8 p.m. So we got every version of the sun involved in that video. But yeah, I'm really proud of it, really happy with it. Yeah.
Sounds like a long day, but it is a beautiful music video. And the actual song, in the press release, it says it's about this feeling of having no ambition and living every day like it's the same. This is a bit of a deep question, so give you a moment to think about it if you want. But when was the last time you felt that sense of hopelessness? Were there any kind of world events, lockdown, everything that happened last year with all the social issues, where you felt so hopeless and fatigued with life? And how did you get out of that?
Yeah, so, I feel very privileged that the band is always a source of inspiration and hope for me. And I think that song is kind of more about me reminding myself of what is underneath the safety net, I don't feel like I've ever kind of bathed in this topic that I'm actually talking about, but I live my life fearful of slipping into it one day and never coming back out, like most musicians I know have. And the thing is, I don't want to talk down the concept of routine, if you're the type of person who's got a 5 days a week job, and you watch good telly on a Tuesday, you go and see your mates on one, that's a brilliant thing if you can find joy in it. But I just feel like, for me, I definitely don't want to be there in myself. I feel like the main point of the song is that I don't think people realize that there is a choice to not do that every day.
I wonder if there is any albums or world events or anything in particular that really inspired the push behind this album. Was there anything you listened to and you thought, fuck, I want to do this, I want to do this?
Yeah, I think for me, we've talked about it quite a lot, but when we got offered and confirmed and announced that America tour, and then our visas got denied, and literally the second visa application got denied the week before we were supposed to be leaving, that was a really crushing time for me. And I think it just made me realize how fragile all hope and happiness is, really. If you put so much pressure on a single moment or experience to make you happy, and you spend months and months leading up to that point, and then it doesn't happen. It's like really, really rubbish. And like, so that was definitely something that kind of made me think a lot about my life, you know, and made me value, I guess, maybe value the little things, you know, maybe kind of going against what In Circles is about, but, you know, maybe just trying to learn how not to be too reliant on the big things to make me happy, and trying to maybe find happiness in myself and find peace with the concept of failure, I guess.
Life is fucking unpredictable. But, you know, as we're talking about kind of the emotional side of the album and like feeling fatigued, I wonder, you know, you speak a lot, like this is the basis of your band, is very emotional, open, raw. I think that's why a lot of people resonate with you. But is it ever like emotionally exhausting? You must be exhausted. You must be exhausted talking about this, writing about it. And I can't tell. I always try and decide whether like musicians have a cathartic release or whether they get a certain point where you're like, actually, I'm kind of tired of singing about this song that made me really depressed. What is that like for you?
It is. That's a brilliant, you know, and this is a topic that I could talk about for hours because it's such a big thing. And, you know, and like a good example is like Tom from Casey. You know, he said that, you know, he couldn't resonate with the songs anymore. He didn't feel the same way, and therefore he couldn't, you know, he didn't want to be in the band anymore, and that's why they split up essentially. You know, and for me, I view it as a very different thing. I view it as a different part of me. I view it as a lived experience, you know, and maybe a lump or something that I've cut off and put in the past. And I made this comment in like an interview I did before where, like, you know, I feel like Tony Stark 6 days a week, and then Holding Absence Lucas is Iron Man. You know, I do feel like a far better and different version of myself. And I think, you know, by going through things I feel like I had that kind of lived experience as that side of myself. But I feel like to take that experience and make something of it is the Iron Man, is the Lucas from Holding Absence, you know, because like it's something that is negative, but it's something that is gone. And rather than letting it live in the past, I'm not reliving it by any means. I'm just reminding people the lessons that I learned because of it. So I don't feel like it's that draining to me, in all honesty. Because I don't feel like I go through it every time. And I, you know, sometimes I'll listen back to our stuff and I'll feel it, and it does hit me in a really, really different way, because yeah, that is me. And I've heard my own voice back sometimes and felt like sorry for myself in a way that like I'm sad that any young man should go through the things that I've mentally gone through and overcome through these songs. You know, I think art is a very hard and weird thing to comprehend. And as long as you're at peace with what it does to you, that's the main thing. And I'm at peace with living these things, creating things around them, and not trying to associate the two too similarly, if that makes sense.
Do you ever feel like because you're so open in your music and you give so much to people that people almost expect too much of you? Because I find with a lot of people, a lot of singers who get really popular and really big, people think you owe them something, on, especially online. And I wonder if you ever feel like you have to explain yourself, or if you ever feel like people take too much from you or demand too much from you because you're in a position of where you are.
It's interesting because I don't owe anyone anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm a person writing songs about my lived experiences and expressing myself through the one thing I'm good at. And that is just simply it. And every other musician on earth, to an extent, is the same. But I can't help but feel like I do owe these people a lot, because like those t-shirts cost money to buy, and those miles traveled in a car took time, and hell, that 30 minutes of that one day that you watched us, you know, it's like that was 30 minutes of your life that I kind of feel like I owe you for, you know. So it is a little bit of both, in all honesty. I feel like it's my duty to do right by people, because I think people have shown so much trust in Holding Absence. People have sacrificed things for this band, you know, and I feel like on top of that as well, not to be too like meta and over the top, but music really saved my life. And like so many bands really helped. Or maybe not saved my life, but like made my life what it is and made my life special. And if I am that guy for one person, let alone several, I do feel like I have a duty to do right by them and just be a good kind of crutch through the hardship of life, you know. And maybe that's me being too generous, you know. But I just, yeah, man, I'm singing, I'm having fun, and I think it's not really hard to do right by other people as well as that. And so that's what I say with it.
It's so interesting talking to you because, like, you've been in the music industry for a few years and it hasn't made you a jaded, cold bastard yet. You're so precious. It's so hard to find your diamond in the rough. I expect bands to be like, no, I don't owe my fans anything, but you're
know, and I think it's because I am the guy on the other side. I am that guy, you know. Like Rao from Mentor Shikari tweeted about Holden Absence earlier, and I lost my mind because I literally grew up loving that band, you know. But I'm not. I'm just I'm always the kid who liked music underneath it all. So like, and who wants to be a douchebag? How self-important do you have to be to choose to be a douchebag?
So you are a Sharp Tone Records band, and there's so many amazing bands on that roster, a lot of which are, because I wouldn't really, well, I would categorize you guys as metalcore, but I don't like to be a genre freak. Yeah. You can really do whatever the hell you want. But there's a lot of amazing bands on that roster paving the way for metalcore. Alpha Wolf, Polaris, Load. Like the face of metalcore and the sound of metalcore has changed drastically in such a short time. And I love nerding out about metalcore because you look at it in 2010, it was all chuggy riffs, crabcore, this, that, the other. I think when you're as emotional as your band is, there's kind of this archaic stereotype from metal bands that you need to be heavy, you can't show.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder if you've ever gone through that, if people have ever told you, you're not real metalcore because you can't be emotional in metalcore.
So first and foremost, we have been confirmed as not metalcore by the metalcore subreddit mods who removed Afterlife a couple of weeks ago, which is funny because I frequent that Reddit all the time. I love seeing new bands on it and stuff. So, and then I saw us and I was like, yes, you know, somebody posted Afterlife, and then it got removed a couple hours later. I was like, oh, bro. But you know, I don't personally view us as a metalcore band. I feel like it's the biggest strength and the greatest weakness of this band is we are not defined by anything or anyone. We are truly, and I don't know how either, because it's like, you know, it's not like we're doing anything crazy, but we get compared to My Chemical Romance the same way we get compared to Dayseeker, the same way we get compared to Creeper, the same way we get compared to Being as an Ocean. Like these are all bands in the same, you know, on the big map of music. They're in the same area, but like if you zoom in a little bit, you realize just how far a lot of these bands are. And it, you know, I had to come to grips with it quite a long time ago that like we are just kind of in the middle of a lot of things, and just some people from the northwest side are going to think we're too far southeast, and you know, vice versa. And it's just music. Music is all opinion at the end of the day. And if you think we're a metalcore band, cool. And if you think we're too lame to be a metalcore band, cool, it's fine.
I like that you guys aren't, because you have metalcore elements, but I think you're so like vastly different to anybody else at the moment that you have longevity. Like you can do whatever you want, and it's like, well, it's just Holding Absence. Like, and I think that's such a great strength to have, because you look at titans like Bring Me the Horizon or Architects, they could do anything. Ollie Sykes could rap on a beat, and I'd be like,
nice, my man. I actually think someday he might, you know, he's teetering on it anyway at the moment, and he, you know,
I know.
A whole lot of talking.
You know, when we talk about the state of metal, I wonder, what do you think of the state of metal right now? Because some people say, oh, it's stagnant, it's not going anywhere, but there's so many exciting bands, like we said, Alpha Wolf, Polaris, Load, so many amazing, all on Sharp Tone Records, mind you. Sharp Tone Records is the future of metal, in my opinion. But what do you think of the state of metal? Is it stagnant, or is it exploding?
I think the music is, you know, a very long wave crashing over a period of time, and you know, maybe right now it's low, and maybe, you know, it's just ebbing past your ankles, but over the horizon, somewhere there is a big old wave coming for you. And I think maybe at the moment, maybe it's not the best thing on earth at the moment. Like, I mean, for the record, I don't think it's any worse than it's been in a long time. And I just think, God, you've tapped into this like pseudo genre brain of mine that overthinks everything. But like, ultimately people aren't willing to accept Bring Me the Horizon and Architects as like the new wave of metal. But like they literally are. There's no denying that. And the same way, I think it might have even been the same festival. I went and it was Download and it was Linkin Park and Avenged Sevenfold, both the first time headlining a festival or for headlining a festival in the UK of that size. And people weren't sure if they were big enough to do it. And they just obviously were. And as somebody maybe 5, maybe 10 years later now, obviously they were big enough. Of course they were. And that same weekend, I saw Bring Me the Horizon on the main stage. I'm pretty sure it was the same weekend. They just put out Sempiternal. I remember watching it and just being like, I'm sure they'll headline this someday because the ambition is uncontrollable. And now 5 years later, the vision is real and Bring Me the Horizon could and probably will literally headline Reading Festival, maybe Download Festival, same with Architects. And like I said, while Linkin Park were at the front, Bring Me the Horizon were on the way up. And while Bring Me the Horizon are at the front, now you've got bands like Loathe, bands like Alpha Wolf, bands like Polaris. There's countless brilliant bands that, dude, imagine Loathe headlining Download in 10 years. Imagine how much great music they would have written, how many magical things they would have made people feel. Same with any of those bands as well. And for me, I think, if trying to not be too over the top, but looking at it from like a big mastermind, kind of, the small bands are the ones that become big. That's literally how it is. And I think we've got a lot of brilliant small bands. So here's to tomorrow's big ones, I guess. Yeah.
Kadeem, I swear you and Kadeem have done a song together, or you did a split EP, right?
Yeah. So us and Loathe have like a really funny relationship because obviously we did the split EP together back in 2017, I think maybe. Yeah. And that was brilliant, because we both were fledgling bands. And to be honest, dude, like a split EP is cool as hell. Like a split EP is such a cool thing. 2 bands recording 2 songs, putting it on a vinyl and touring Europe. So cool. And I remember, we just felt like we saw a lot of ourselves in each other just through a completely different lens, like we knew that Loathe were ambitious, exciting, on a thematic level and on a musical level, So when we did that EP, it was just kind of like, we viewed it as like the 2 coolest bands in the UK from both angles, just coming in and making a slam dunk, And I think for years, people look back at that as just so iconic. Like Sleep Token opened the Manchester and the London shows, like Sleep Token, Loathe and Old Absence, like what a lineup, But more recently though, we did, myself and Kadeem both did guest vocals on different songs for a band called Void of Vision. Yeah. And they did that really cool, like redux of their album, which was just like, I was talking about this in an interview the other day, but like, I view that as the future of music, like kind of like, metal's always like 20 years late. It's like, of course, or maybe not 20, maybe 10, but like, remember when Gorillaz did Plastic Beach? And you had like Marky Smith, Lou Reed, you had like Snoop Dogg, you had like, dude, like somebody in metal needs to do that. Like I want Sharp Tone to do like a Roadrunner Records. You remember they did Roadrunner United? Do you remember that?
Oh my God, yeah.
Imagine like a Sharp Tone Roadrunner United where like, it's just all the bands, like Don Broco and like, there's so much range in the Sharp Tone roster. And I think stuff like that is definitely necessary now, especially as music is being asked to innovate more and more,
We were speaking about festival lineups beforehand and playing shows and all that. So you're booked for festivals and shows when the eventual COVID ends. I know it's hard to anticipate given the fact that we're still in lockdown, but how are you feeling about going back to shows? Are you nervous? Because I was excited, but I also, I don't know how I'm going to act the first time I get into it.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to just go like crazy. So I am, for the record, I'm nervous as a performer because I haven't performed in a year. And I don't think that's the first time in my life I haven't sung properly for a year, since like I was literally a teenager, you know. So I'm worried about not being as good as I was when I kind of left. But we rehearsed the album in full the other day for the first time. And my God, we were like, it sounds really lame, but like we were playing the songs and we'd finish them and we'd look at each other and we'd like verbally laugh because we were like, I can't believe how good this feels and how good these songs are, you know? So yeah, I'm ecstatic. To be honest, you know, if ever I was going to have had a year off because of some suppression that the world had like forced upon everyone, you know, no better comeback would have been made than with an album we'd never played before that was the best material we'd ever written. So floodgates going to open ×2 when it's all back, yeah.
If you could summarize this album in 3 words or less.
I'm going to say an emotional experience. Yeah. We'd never played before that was the best material we'd ever written. So floodgates going to open ×2 when it's all back, yeah.
If you could summarize this album in 3 words or less.
I'm going to say an emotional experience. Yeah.